So sometimes I hate having to describe the loony behavior of my mother and father and how it still affects me today and causes damage to my body, and how it prevents medical care, prevents Social Security, prevents me from going back to work, prevents me from getting jobs, prevents me from using a shelter, prevents me from driving. Their decisions, their words, their treatment of my body, their violations of my body has made it worse for me to do what I want to do. Luckily, there are things that can be done about it, but my mother and father have cut off those things too. Like epilepsy medication, nope, they'll cut off it. I'm not talking about controlled substances. I'm talking about non-controlled substances like triliptal. These are the things they try, or like an emergency bracelet, like a bracelet that will get me to the hospital so a doctor can see my seizures right away. Those were cut off. Why? Because my father had a conversation with the Department of Health and Human Services, Beth. A lady called him about my old Social Security cases, and they said everything was a fantasy. Don't spend any money or time on him. Then this message, because she actually was part of my insurance company, she had to put this message in my file to go with my insurance company, New Hampshire Health and Families. So they found it unnecessary to pay for an emergency bracelet for a man who has nothing wrong with him, so they cut off funding. So now when I have a seizure or an injury, no ambulance comes for me because I can't dial a phone. That's the problem. When I'm having a seizure, I can't dial phones or get off the ground. That's why it's necessary, because I'll be left there bleeding with no way to dial a phone or get off the ground. But that's how my father wants it. That is why he made that statement. He wanted to make sure to get back at me because he thinks this is a fucking game. He thinks destroying another human being's body is just nothing but another plaything for him. It's just another fucking game. When I tell my father that my body is hurting from a seizure that he caused because his wife did something to my body and he has allowed her behavior to continue, and these stories that she told and you signed off on are hurting me today, you know what my father does? He tries to get back at me. Yeah. When I say I need you to stop with the stories and walk in with me, and you need to work on this with me because your second wife did a lot of things, and you and me are the only two people that can fix this, he decides to run away in the sunset. Say, I can't hear you, I can't hear you. Yeah, go die, go figure it out on your own. Go, you just don't want to work. You're lazy, it's immaturity, you're lazy. Shit like that. Meanwhile, I'm scraping myself off the cement, full of blood, emergency room visits, lots of paperwork on this, all bloodied up. During COVID, working 60 hours one week, 70 the next week, 55 the next, 60 the next, while walking to work in snowstorms, having more and more seizures. I also have infections in my nose, throat, and pneumonia because I've had dry mouth from medication for about 15 years. According to the dentist, I had to get that taken care of with a special mouthwash, but I couldn't afford it. So the medications all through my childhood dried them out really bad. Then when I was homeless, I couldn't keep my mouth dry, so really bad. And I'm sure smoking marijuana in here probably dried it out too, but no. I mean, I take pills way more than I ever took marijuana. I mean, my mother had me on like fucking 7 pills every day from the age of 5 on. She just wanted more and more pills forced in my body. She didn't care what they were for. As long as they had a large side effect list, they were prescription, and they could harm my body and make me look funny and weird. Those were the pills she wanted for me. Oh, schizophrenic pills? Give them all. But your son's not schizophrenic. I don't care. Give him more of them. But the doctor said, no, your son's not schizophrenic. We're not going to drug your son with meds he doesn't need. No, give them these pills. I want him to take dangerous pills. My mother pushed for those pills, and the doctors would never give it to her because there was never anything wrong with me. The doctors knew this. My doctors knew my mother was pushing the envelope constantly on this mental illness bullshit. Meanwhile, my father was profiting off of it. He was trying to get money from the state, saying that I was mentally ill and he needed money. Meanwhile, I had a real illness that they were covering up. And a part of me thinks my father really did know about this too. But I have one question for you. If you think it's loony that I'm forced to talk about this on the record for until I get it on the record, and then I get epilepsy medication. When that happens, I can shut up. I can have a seizure, lose my speech, it doesn't matter, because the doctors will know what's wrong with me when they find me on the side of the road, unconscious, never able to walk or talk again. When that happens, I can shut up forever because they have it down on the record. But if you think it's loony that I have to talk about the loony things my mother and father did, I have one question to the people in my family if they're the ones who say it. I want you to describe the loony things my mother did, so the weirdest things she ever did. I will write them down if you need help, and then I want you to say them out loud, and we'll see how clear you sound talking about these things. Like, I want you to describe the Halloween curse. That's it. What was the Halloween curse? I was not allowed to go trick-or-treating. Why? Why was I not? Because I was sick? Why was I sick? Oh, because we never found out. Oh, we never found out why I was sick every Halloween. Oh, well, I'll tell you. My mother called me over, gave me pills, and then I got sick. Then my mother got her way and said I couldn't go out because I was sick. This happened 3 Halloweens. Now that sounds pretty loony to me. Now, you can't even talk about it, can you? Because you just don't know. You're just saying stuff like, oh, you just magically got sick. Well, I think you're loony, Tim. People just don't get sick automatically every Halloween. So what was I sick from? I wasn't allowed to get candy because I didn't go trick-or-treating. So I never got the candy. So we know I didn't have a handful of candy. My mother controlled all that, and I wasn't allowed to go out trick-or-treating, so we know I wasn't sick on candy. We know I also got pale and weak, because one Halloween I took the pills, and I was sick of being pale and weak. I barely could walk. I didn't vomit or get sick to my stomach. That year I got pale and weak. So tell me, what was making me sick when I wanted to go get candy and go trick-or-treating with the other kids? Because something was making me sick, and my mother sure jumped to knowing I was sick right away. She wasn't getting her way. I was getting dressed to put on my costume. My mother calls me for medication. Then, when the medication kicks in, I'm sick. And then, my brother and other people, one year I think my brother and my nephew were there, and I'm too sick to go out with my nephew and other kids, and I'm too sick to do anything. Why? What did the doctor say about this Halloween illness that comes back every Halloween only when my mother's not getting her way